Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show. Joining us as always on Tuesdays, the Prince of Twitter, the Regent of RedState.com, the man who doesn't rat out his family at Salem Communications in memoirs, Andrew Malcolm. A.H. Malcolm. Andrew, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here. And there's nothing to rat out, Ed.
Well, that's true. I mean, first off, it'd be a boring book. It'd be one dull book because nobody really cares about that. I am struggling to find out why anybody cares about the Windsors and the Sussexes either, but apparently they do because this book is huge and it's been, Prince Harry and Princess Meghan or whatever she is, Duchess Meghan. I don't know what their titles are these days. Doghouse is what their location is these days in terms of the royal family, but he's a best-selling author. I think that 1.4 million copies sold of his memoir Spare. And Andrew, I just want to announce to you that I actually have a tell-all memoir coming out.
Oh, do you? Oh,
I do.
Yeah,
and it's going to be titled Hair.
Yeah, why not? By the podcast host formerly known as Captain.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly it. I'm going to talk about how all of the Salem hosts are oppressing me by showering me with attention and support and paying me.
Yeah. Isn't that something? I keep calling him the man formerly known as Prince. It's just credit to him. He did 2 tours as a helicopter gunship pilot in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like his whole personality that I thought of, not that I know him, has been subsumed by what's her name?
She's the Yoko Ono of the royal family, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. She's so self-important and
there are just things I don't need to know. I really didn't need to know about Prince Harry's frostbite on his Todger. I don't know if you caught that little nugget.
No, I may have missed that one, Ed, but thanks for putting it into my unforgettable memory.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, now what purpose could this possibly
It sounds like a ghostwriter getting too excited.
I don't know who his ghostwriter is, but whoever his ghostwriter is probably didn't like him very much. Based on what's coming out from this, either that or Prince Harry is just not terribly bright. Yeah, just not terribly bright. And look, I mean, I've often been fascinated and somewhat revolted by how avidly Americans consume the tabloidy, royals coverage. I guess I can't blame him for cashing in on it because he's not going to get any more money from his dad at this point or his brother. But
right. He's going to have to go to a hotel when he's in London.
Yeah, I suspect that the family's not the firm is not too happy with Harry.
They froze him out of the palace. So, gosh, me too. They never let me in.
I haven't gotten my invitation, but then again, I'm not a prince. You're actually a prince. You're the prince.
Well, that's true. I am a self-appointed prince, and don't you forget it.
Well, more of me appointing you Prince of Twitter, I think.
I'm sort of what do they call? I'm sort of a big deal.
You are sort of a big deal. Joe Biden might even describe you as a big effing deal. He should actually describe you as a big effing deal.
Oh, geez. What a piece of work.
Well, and he's got a big effing deal on his hands. I mean,
Well, he does. And David Gergen let him have it too.
What did Gergen have to say? I did see that Gergen had something to say.
He just said that this is a really big deal and he's basically screwed.
Well, I think he is, to the extent that anybody is. And I think what's going to wind up happening with this is that the Department of Justice is going to conveniently just let this thing slide for a couple of years and hope that it doesn't have to be dealt with. But, just to discuss this, I mean, you've got Joe Biden, who's been on television lecturing Donald Trump on all of the evil ills of keeping classified material at your residence, and it turns out that he kept classified materials, where he stores his Corvette. I mean, in the garage.
In the garage.
Yeah, where he does photo ops. He's done photo ops from there with this Corvette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I don't expect anything to come of either one of them. Big shots in Washington. Now, special prosecutors, they haven't really done much. And if you're a big shot, they don't do anything. Now, they didn't have special prosecutors, but if you look at all the scandals and wrongdoing in Washington, many of them when what's his name was vice president. I mean, Solyndra, $534 million of taxpayer money guaranteed, paid back to an Obama fundraising bundler. Okay. Yep. So he wouldn't lose any money. Oh, that's nice. Fast and Furious, the gun running operation that actually killed people. Nothing happened. Right. Benghazi, which is still burns my butt. 4 loyal Americans died. Unrescued, unsupported, nothing. The alleged investigator, Admiral, what's his name, Mike something Mullen, he didn't even interview Hillary Clinton. He took the word of her chief of staff as to what she was doing, and they still put him on TV to talk about things. Nobody. They went in and arrested one quote terrorist in Benghazi, and that's it. That this is what Obama promised the next day, just before he went off to 2 Las Vegas fundraisers. The bodies weren't even cold, and he said there will be swift justice. Yeah, right. Yeah. Nothing. And Susan Rice, the one who went on national television 5 times and blamed the Muslim video on YouTube. Now she's the head of domestic policy for Joe Biden. So, Washington takes care of its own, and that's a bipartisan deal.
I agree. And I think that's that's the normal frame of business, but I think it's especially true when it comes to the mishandling of classified documents. I mean, these are really treated in 2 very different ways. If you're a rank and file person with access to this, or even a senior NSA executive, in my piece earlier today, we're recording this on Monday, I was talking about the issue of Thomas Drake, the case of Thomas Drake, who wanted to blow the whistle on a $1 billion boondoggle at the NSA, and nobody was paying attention to it. He'd gone through his chain of command. He'd gone to the relevant intel committees in both chambers of Congress, and nobody was responding to him. So finally, after a few years of trying to get eyeballs on this, he started leaking it to a Baltimore Sun reporter and ended up getting raided by the FBI to find any other classified material that might be in his house. He was charged with violations of the Espionage Act relating to mishandling of classified documents. And they end up dropping all of those things. He ends up pleading to a misdemeanor, which had nothing to do with the Espionage Act claims. And the judge apparently was pretty irritated and said he wasn't going to, I guess the DOJ recommended, a jail term. And he said, I'm not going to sentence this guy to a day in jail based on these charges. So it was, he just got basically, I guess, probation probably from the judge. But I mean, he had to spend years unburying himself from this. Hillary Clinton didn't have to do that.
Yeah, right. But talk about outrageous.
I mean, really, this is the gold standard of double standards. The way that Hillary Clinton was.
That's a great line.
The way Hillary Clinton was treated on this is nothing short of, lèse majesté. I mean, this is nobody wanted to impede the queen is basically what this was, because it had all the elements. The email server was specifically used to avoid congressional oversight over her communications at the State Department. The State Department misrepresented that status in several different court cases. I think it was maybe as many as a dozen different court cases where outfits like Tom Fitton's, I can't think of the name of his outfit right now.
Something about justice. Yeah.
Yeah, something about justice. Had sued to get her communications, in relation to specific issues. And the State Department kept saying, the Secretary of State doesn't have an email address. Well, yes, she does. It just wasn't one that was secured through the government the way it was supposed to have been. And then when it was discovered, and this is exactly on point with what happened with Joe Biden, did the FBI seize the server? No. They asked her for the material, and her attorneys went through it, deleted half of the 65,000 or so email messages on it, claiming that it was personal. Those were personal emails, and then printed them all out initially and told the FBI to go through that. Now later she finally turned it over, but not until after she'd wiped all the rest of her electronic devices with a cloth, if you remember that little claim.
Isn't that destroying evidence? I don't understand.
It's obstruction. It's destruction of evidence. It's clear evidence of willful mishandling of classified material. And that was in a situation where it was actually being transmitted over the internet, right? Biden's was locked in a garage. That's bad enough. Trump's was locked at Mar-a-Lago. That's bad enough. But Hillary Clinton's was worse because it was actively being transmitted through the internet on an unsecure, let's just say an insufficiently secured server. And
Biden's garage allegedly locked, but Hunter had a key, so he could go in and look up information for his clients, he and his communist buddy.
Well, look, I mean, that's sort of the topic of your column, right? Your VIP column. So let's talk a little bit about that, because this took place over a 6-year period, right? It starts when Joe Biden's leaving the vice presidency and he's taken this material home, and then some of it ends up going to the Penn Center after that. Some of it ends up going to a couple different places. So it's not like it just got parked in one place and was forgotten. People were going through this stuff. It was being taken out of boxes and looked at and apparently used. And one of the places where this took place clearly was at the residence in Wilmington. Because why? Because some of that material wasn't in the boxes in which it was transported. Some of it was inside the house.
Yeah.
And you're right. Some of that stuff, at least in the initial tranche that was reported, related to Ukraine. Well, guess who had business interests in Ukraine?
Yeah. And guess who was paying 10% to the big guy?
The big guy, to Celtic.
Yeah.
Celtic or the big guy. I love all these code names, just
at the address. What's in the address? Something like Stingray.
It was something like that. I mean,
something with a Corvette. Yeah. And there was a picture online of Biden a few years ago showing off sitting in his Corvette convertible, and in the background, in the garage, is a big pile of boxes.
Yeah, which for most of us is no big deal, because I mean, I've got a big pile of boxes in my garage too, but I don't have classified material in them.
I had so much stuff in my California garage, which none of it was classified, by the way, that my cars in 20 years, they were never inside the garage.
It's funny you say that, because one of the things that happened to me during the pandemic was I cleaned my garage out for the first time in 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
It took me either 2 or 3 of those bagster things from Waste Management to get that thing cleaned out. I mean, it was pretty disgusting. It was bad.
Yeah.
And when it was done, I would invite people over to see my garage. I mean, I cleaned it all the way out. It was actually really nice and clean for the first time since I'd moved into the place. So yeah, I mean, and I get that, but I'm not storing classified material in there. I wasn't the former president of the United States.
Although I don't know. There might have been some really hot emails that that you and I exchanged about news sources.
Yeah, that's the reason why the FBI is going to raid your house in about half an hour. I just want to tip you off.
I just
'Cause
should let you
You're not,
know. Yeah.
you're not a Biden, so they're going to raid you. You're not a Clinton either, so they're going to raid you.
Did I ever tell you the story? This is not about classified, but when I was working in San Francisco bureau, Sarah Jane Moore took some shots at Gerald Ford. And my bureau chief, who was very well connected, found out who it was and where her apartment was. And he sent me over to her apartment. And I went over there. This is in near downtown San Francisco. Went over there and I said to the landlord, can I see Sarah Jane Moore's apartment? And he said, why? And he said, well, I heard it might be empty soon. And so he took me into the apartment. I'm looking around, I'm looking for, I don't know, Mao pictures, Nazi swastika signs, whatever. And it was just an old lady's apartment. And then all of a sudden, a half dozen guys in dark suits burst into the room, demanded to know who I was. And the only question besides "Who are you?" Was, "Did you touch anything?" And I'm not that dumb. I said, "No,
Right.
I haven't touched anything." And they suggested that I leave, which I did. But
Yeah. Suggested might be understating that, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, these guys had bulges in their suit coats, so I'm not going to screw around with them. And the landlord was like, "What the hell is going on here?" He didn't have a clue yet. Oh, anyway.
Well, that's what's called being a reporter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, and they didn't pick a fight about it, but and I didn't take anything. I just wanted to see what it looked like. So that I think that all of that ended up being a paragraph in somebody else's story. So big deal, but it's a fun story to tell. And the chip where the bullet hit. And remember Oliver Sipple? You remember him?
Yeah.
He was the retired Marine that knocked her hand up. You can still, well, at least a few years ago, you could still go and see in the right next to the door to the fair. This is not the Fairmont, but the some hotel on Union Square, the big one. And there's a chip out of the top. There's no sign there. And that was supposed to be the last time a president didn't enter or leave a hotel through the basement. I always thought it was kind of funny. This happened when I was working for George W. Bush. They would hear these, sort of big shots, and we go in past the smelly dumpsters and up the freight elevator. You have to go in the back. And all of a sudden, at one time, the Secret Service didn't take Ronald Reagan in through the basement. They took him out the side door at the Hilton, and he got shot. So, fooled once, you're a dummy. I don't know.
Interesting.
Anyway,
It's interesting you bring up Oliver Sipple because that was an interesting media story back in the time. I
yeah,
mean, we talk about media issues all the time. Oliver Sipple was a hero. He was a former Marine. He was also gay, and he hadn't actually come out.
yeah.
And Herb Cain actually wrote that he actually published the fact that he was gay. He hadn't come out to his family. He'd come out to friends. His friends knew it. And so Herb Cain actually published it in the Chronicle, and he ended up suing the Chronicle over this. And it was a legal battle went on for years. He ended up losing.
And he ended up dead too.
He ended up dead. Yeah, he had mental health issues after that. It was a sad story, and he really was a hero. I mean, I'm not necessarily sure why Herb Cain thought that part was news, but back then that was a bad call.
And in San Francisco.
Well, in San Francisco, that's fine, and maybe Cain just figured that he was out, but that was 1975.
And that was just 2 weeks after Squeaky, what's her name, took her gun jammed. She pointed, up in Sacramento, her gun jammed on Gerald Ford again. So I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Gerald Ford's, but two times in 2 weeks, and I don't know. I don't think I would take the president through an unsecured park outside the Capitol in Sacramento.
No.
without it's finding out who's standing behind that tree over there. Anyway,
and it's not as though that there weren't issues with this. I mean, they just had a president assassinated a dozen years prior to that, right? So I mean, it's not like
and it was the end of Vietnam.
it's the end of Vietnam. There's all sorts of things that were going on. A lot of political unrest going on at the time. Yeah, it's a strange decision. Of course, just a few years later, they did take Reagan out through the basement, but they didn't make much of a secret of it, which is the reason why John Hinckley was able to find him and
No,
shoot
that
him.
wasn't the basement. That's the point. It was the side door.
Oh, you're right. It was a side door. Yes, you're
Yeah,
right. Side door. I apologize. Yeah.
the side door where the car was parked. It was just insane. And they let it not only out the side door, that's one thing, but you don't clear the area. I mean, they had police saying, all right, everybody stand back, but you know,
Well,
anyway, it,
yeah.
it's it's interesting. In hindsight, those things are fascinating, and I happen to be a history buff, so
Me too.
I'm
Me
a
too.
sucker for them. Yeah.
Too. Which is why I mean these stories are great. I want to go to another story that you're writing about, which is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and what's going on
Oh,
with that.
geez, doesn't that burn your?
So
So
explain what's happening because I don't think this is actually getting a lot of coverage, which is one
no,
reason
of
why I
course
wanted
not,
to
because
do
it's adverse to Joe Biden. Okay, so we have this strategic petroleum reserve that could take 700 million barrels of oil. That's a lot of oil. Each barrel can be, one barrel can be made into 44 gallons of petroleum products. So that's a lot of oil. Donald Trump was filling it at cheap oil, $37, $38, $39, filling it up. And he got it up near 500 million barrels. Joe Biden comes in, and this is not a national energy emergency. He decides we're going to dip into the strategic petroleum reserve. I think Bill Clinton did this for political purposes too. And so he was taken out last year 1 million barrels a day, which is 44 million gallons of petroleum product every single day. And now it's down around 300 million barrels, the lowest it's been in 4 decades. And he assuaged criticism last year by saying, well, of course, we'll fill it up. I'll fill it up, right? It's now, what, $76 a barrel? Twice what Biden or Trump was paying for it. So and this is what is so tricky. They put out Biden's energy department put out a bid that they would buy this oil for $70 a barrel. And they had all kinds of strictures about what kind of oil, sweet crude, and all of that. And the oil companies came in, and well, there's going to be a lot of oil to sell. So the oil companies came in, who are forbidden from new drilling wells in the U.S., they came in and they gave their bids, which was $75, $76. So the Biden Energy Department said, no, we're not going to do it. So there goes another Biden promise. Now, I suppose if somebody comes in and offers to take $70, it's that they would buy some. But here's the twister. Selling the oil, they sold the oil at a great bonus. That's 1 million barrels a day, $96 per barrel. Yeah. So that was like $18 billion. Well, that's a lot of money that they could buy oil to fill it up. And guess what happened last month? Congress took almost 13 billion of it to finance their phony budget scheme. And so that left them with 4 billion, which won't fill it up. And so here we are, and like you said, nobody's paying attention. And this is Biden's way of not filling it up. You can say, well, it's too expensive. And I tried, but those evil oil companies wouldn't comply with our rules. So it's so Machiavellian. I'm sure he didn't do it. His people did, because he's a really nice guy.
Look, I mean, this has always been the problem with draining the SPR, though, is
Yeah.
that we're not doing anything to really greatly increase production here in the US to drive the price down. In fact, and on top of that, we're making it more expensive on the international market. So if we're going to buy any excess to store, it's going to raise those prices even higher. And this
Yeah.
is part of just a really bad strategic thinking on this administration's part. It's not the first one. It's not even the worst example in terms of oil, where that comes to, but it's certainly one of the big issues.
And I have to suspect the motives. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, of course you got to suspect the motives because the economics of this are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So nobody got rich on Wall Street, you know, buying high and selling low. Okay? It doesn't work that way. And so if you're not going to produce more, prices are going to remain elevated. And if you've been selling this stuff off at a lower price, you're going to have to buy it back at the higher price. Plus, let's not forget that the effort to buy it back is going to result in higher demand anyway, which will move prices up again.
And the oil that he put out allegedly to help drivers at the pump, most of it went overseas. So it's not like it went in our tanks. It's just, and the media that got special constitutional protections because of its crucial role as watchdog is sound asleep. Dana Lash had a wonderful thing showing, or a tweet a couple of years ago about her dog and saying that sound asleep on the couch and say, this is what he does when there's a burglar. This is what he does when the house is on fire. And he's always sound asleep. And then the last picture is, this is what happens when I open a cheese wrapper and the dog is right there alert,
Or open the fridge or rustle any kind of paper. I've had dogs. I know how this works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, this is not the worst part of Biden's energy policies, but it's a significantly stupid policy. And I think I'm actually kind of stunned, even with a media that is obsequious to Biden as this media is. I'm really kind of stunned that that's not been better plumbed in the media. And speaking of obsequious, I don't know if you've had a chance to see this, but did you see Chuck Todd's interview of Ron Johnson?
I just heard about it.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it. I didn't want to sit and watch the whole thing.
No.
I mean, that should be embarrassing to NBC News. It won't be. It won't be, but it should be embarrassing to NBC News. Chuck Todd, for those who didn't bother to watch this, Chuck Todd basically treated Ron Johnson like a Russian oligarch during the entire interview, and then hit him with a demonstrably false accusation, which Johnson said, that's demonstrably false. That's not what happened. And Chuck Todd said, well, it really doesn't matter because, you're a duty head or whatever it was that he said. It was
duty head.
He didn't say duty
You're
head.
Full of funny words today, Ed.
No.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of time to sit around and think about these things.
Yeah.
That's what a managing editor does, Andrew.
Yes. And it's a very important role. There's a great story where the news company announced bulking up the newsroom, and they hired 20 reporters. And of course, every 3 reporters needs an editor, so they hired another 8 editors. And then the corporate headquarters the next year ordered a cutback, so they laid off all the reporters.
Well, I've worked in organizations like that. And
the editors stayed on. Yeah, right.
It wasn't the media. I could tell you about a company a corporation that shall not be named, that was acquired by a very much larger corporation that shall not be named, which allowed the smaller corporation that will not be named to determine who was going to get laid off to bring the personnel numbers into line. And all of the executives decided to lay off lay off rank and file people while you had 18 or so levels of management at this company.
Yeah.
Any 10 of which you could have easily, drawn a line through and not have bothered anything whatsoever. I'm exaggerating about the 18, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like what was the off the that hilarious movie about the office where the guy decided he wasn't gonna do
Oh,
any
Office
work.
Space. Office
What?
Space. Yeah. What is it that you think you do here? What is it that you do here? I think that the two Bobs, right? The two Bobs who were the efficiency experts. What is it that you do? Um,
Yeah, that would be really good.
yeah, I'm gonna need you to work on Saturday. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. I didn't see it for years. I saw it years
Me
after
too. Same for was it the office what?
Office Space.
Office Space. Yeah, right.
Office Space, yeah. And it
Hmm.
was Cranky T-Rex from crankytrex.com that said, you have to sit down and watch this. You are required, literally required to sit down and watch this. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant movie. So if you're
There's
one of
another one. There's another one I want to look up, which is Funny Farm. Do you remember that?
I do remember Funny Farm. I do remember Funny Farm. That was
Chevy
Chevy
Chase.
and I can't remember the name of the actress. She's terrific, and I can't remember her name.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's where he lives in the town and he hates the town and the people hate him, but he wants to sell it and they're so eager for him to sell it. He decides to pay them to act nice when the buyers come. It's the most perfect Norman Rockwell movie where everybody's saying hello.
it's it's actually really good, and it's also about media, although it's sports media.
Right.
Yeah,
Cue the deer. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's one of Chevy Chase's better movies.
yeah,
And I'm not a
yeah,
huge Chevy Chase fan. That's actually one of his better movies, and
yeah.
it wasn't Madeline Stowe. I can't remember who the name of the actress who played that. Wasn't Madeline Stowe? It was somebody who looked. They resemble each other. At any rate, yeah, you should definitely watch that. It's a lot of fun. So, all right. Speaking of fun, we're just about at the end of our weekly catch up here, but we need to get some jokes of the week. Do you have any fun
Wait,
jokes of the week for us?
I think I might. Uh, wait, where did it go? Here we go. Uh, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, some of them I've used up, but let's see. That's I said that one. Um, uh, did you know? Jimmy, these are old. Jimmy Fallon saying, "Did you know there are now 20 million people in America who do yoga almost every day, none of whom ever shut up about it." I love that. Um, and Conan said that Kim Kardashian waited until today to reveal the name of her new baby. Asked why it took so long, she said, "We're very private people." Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then finally, Conan said that Time Warner Cable is testing a new premium service that sets a specific time for the installer to arrive and put in your cable connection. You have two choices, winter or spring.
Those are two good choices, especially since we're in winter right now. And
Yeah, right.
this
So
time of year, it'd be summer or fall.
you won't have to wait more than 4 months. Remember those jokes that Reagan used to tell about the Russians or the Soviets, where he said,
Yeah.
no, there was one great one where he said, you you have to pay up front when you're buying a car in the Soviet Union, so you have to pay all the money when you order it, and then he tells you that it won't be here for 10 years, and so you say, well, okay, and he said, well, we'll deliver it 10 years on Tuesday, and the buyer who just paid a huge sum of money and he had to wait 10 years to get the car said, "Oh no, it can't be Tuesday." He said, "Why?" And he said, "That's when the plumber is coming."
Oh, well, there you go. You got a bonus funny from Andrew this week. Andrew
That's
Malcolm,
right. That's
the prince of,
exactly right.
the
Oh, I
prince of,
got one more. I got one more, Edward.
go for it.
Okay, so there's a guy. Where was it? Oh, it was a comedy bit, a comic on Instagram. Comedy thing, a comedian saying that, he said, I just got recently divorced. And so I'm trying to get back into the dating scene, but I can't seem to make a connection. He said, because I'm trained as a husband. He said, so I see these pretty ladies sitting at the bar. So I walk up to them and I say, hi, you're looking very nice tonight. I was wondering if you had any chores or errands for me to run. And he said, and then if we make a connection, I say, well, I can swing by tomorrow and take your mother to Target.
Well, that dress does not make you look fat either.
No, I don't. It's just so hilarious. And I was dumb. I didn't get the guy's name, but it was brilliant.
Well, there you go. And
Yeah,
even
so bonus today.
Double bonus funny from Andrew Malcolm, the prince of Twitter, the man, the prince that doesn't rat out his family. It's become very rare, Andrew. I just want to let you know.
Yeah. That's me. Yeah.
You can follow him on @AHMalcolm. He's at redstate.com as well. That's where he does all his blogging. He's got 2 great posts up right now, both VIP. So join the VIP over at redstate.com or join VIP Gold and get the firewall content on all of the different town hall sites.
Get Ed and Adam.
There you go. And we do have more amiable skeptics coming up too. So just stay on top of that. Andrew Malcolm, thank you so much for being with us.
You bet. See you, everybody.
We'll be back with one last message from the Ed Morrissey Show, which was just like the previous message. Stand by. Now that the political infighting is over and the sausage is being made in the House, it's time for Republicans to unite with one cause and fight back against Joe Biden and his radical administration. The GOP has promised to investigate Biden family corruption, the border, big tech censorship collusion, the origins of COVID, the FBI, and intel agencies' attacks on the American people, and more. And it's time to hold them to those promises. Here at Hot Air, we won't let up on holding them accountable. We unapologetically fight back against the radical left and squishy rhinos in Congress who fail the people. We bring you the truth and go to war against Biden's woke communist agenda. But we need your help. By becoming a VIP for hotair.com, you can help us in this battle for our country. Just look at the House Democrats leader Hakeem Jeffries. He's another divisive radical leftist, and his communist Sesame Street speech proves it. If Republicans don't halt the Biden agenda and conservative media fails to hold them accountable, it could mean the end of our great country. Join us in the fight. Become a Hot Air VIP member or a VIP Gold member today and use the promo code SAVEAMERICA to receive a 40% discount on your membership. Stand with us and fight to save America. We will never give up. And thank you very much.